Pursuant to Mass General Law 7C38, Section 20F, after notifying the chair of the public body, any person may make a video or audio recording of an open session of a meeting of a public body and may transmit the meeting through any meeting. Beginning of the meeting, the chair shall inform other attendees of any such recordings. This meeting is being recorded by the Berkshire Edge, the town of Great Barrington, and CTSB. Any member of the public wishing to speak at the meeting must receive permission of the chair. The listing of agenda items, those reasonably anticipated by the chair, which may be discussed at the meeting. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by law. Select board's announcements and statements. Phil?
Nothing, thank you.
Ben?
Nothing for me.
Garfield?
Nothing.
Eric? Nothing. Thank you. Town managers report, Chris?
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
We can. Yeah.
Great. Tonight, there's 3 items under the town manager's report. First of all, quick update on Reed Cleaners. Contractors will likely start right after Labor Day in order to ensure the safety of the trucks entering and exiting the site during that time. We are requesting permission from the board to block 4 spaces on 4 parking spaces on Main Street. 2 are on one either side of the entrance to the Reed Cleaners property on the west side of Main Street. 2 are on the east side of Main Street near to the dollar store parking lot. That's kind of the swing that a truck will make as it exits Reed's to go northbound to take waste out. So we're requesting block all 4 of those all week long. We'd release them on the weekends. We know there's church services, and if there's any special service during the week, we would work with the churches to free up those spaces. So we're requesting the board's approval to block those 4 spaces.
Do I have a vote?
I make a motion to approve the 4 parking spaces during the weekdays for the duration of the mediation for the Reed's Cleaners.
Do I have a second? Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
It is unanimous, Chris.
Thank you. And just a reminder, work there will start at about 7 a.m. They may work 4 long days, Monday through Thursday. If they do, then we can release the spot on Friday. We will do so. The second item here is just a reminder regarding the transfer station that Public Works staff at the transfer station has been actively monitoring the use of the station, what people are throwing out, what stickers they have on their vehicles, and ensuring that folks are actually paying for the service. As you know, Public Works has been working harder and harder to make sure that we are trying to get as close as possible to covering costs of running that operation, which is really, really important for our residents and our taxpayers. The staff at the station, as you may have encountered, has been, stopping folks as they come in and looking at what's being disposed of, and importantly, making sure that everybody has their annual sticker affixed to the vehicle. They have begun turning people away who have not followed that rule, and so we're just sort of here reminding folks that we are actively enforcing that rule to have your annual stickers affixed to the vehicle to utilize the transfer station. Any questions? Great, thank you. And finally, tonight, the police department and Public Works department have been looking at ways to calm traffic in the East Street, Gilmore, Anderson, Hillside neighborhood. As you know, they recently completed a road paving, drainage, and sidewalk project over there. As part of that, the last part is to do the signage, road signs, and striping. And the staff has put together a map, which you have in your packet, of areas where they'd like to add crosswalks, stop signs, stop ahead markings, and the sort to increase traffic safety and pedestrian safety in the area. I believe staff is there with you tonight as well to answer any questions you might have. We've received some comments on email already, and we can answer any questions.
Thanks, keep starting, you want to speak a little bit about it?
Yeah, so, thanks, everybody, and I'm guessing some of the larger crowd today, is here to, speak about this proposal. This came about, we've been, Joe Averdell and I have been thinking about it for a while. As you know, for years, the East Street area, the neighborhood has expressed, a lot of concerns about traffic safety, the amount of traffic, the speed of traffic, et cetera. When this project started, Joe and I started to try to think of different ways that we can help try to identify what the issue is and address it in a way that's within the current infrastructure of what we have with this project. And then a few months as this project was starting, several families came to meet with me in person at the station to talk about their concerns and what we can do while this project's going on, hopefully by the end of it, so we can address some of those ongoing concerns. So when we looked at it, we said, what's the biggest issue here? In that East Street neighborhood with Gilmore Hillside, Anderson, East Street is unique. It's the only neighborhood I could really find in town that is used as a shortcut to avoid the downtown area. Main Street, Great Barrington, basically is 4 major routes that come together as one. In the downtown, it can get congested at times. And as soon as people see the traffic starting getting backed up from the Brown Bridge up by the firehouse, et cetera, they make that quick left-hand turn onto Hillside, onto Gilmore, or onto East Street really quick to, again, hopefully to avoid the downtown area. So when we looked at this, we're a couple different ideas were, one, we could block East Street on the south end and then nobody could go through. And then you'd be almost kind of like cottage, you had to adjust and nobody could go through East Street all the way through anymore. Or this was the second idea we came up with, let's make it inconvenient as much as we can by trying to slow traffic down. So it isn't a benefit by cutting through that residential neighborhood, thickly settled area. By adding some stop signs at some of the intersections, really just, again, slow it down, make it inconvenient. Hopefully with the reduction of traffic flow in that neighborhood, the less likely of an incident to take place. We're gonna reduce that risk. So we came up with this plan, and we made a nice little map, and we decided before we brought it to the select board, it'd probably be a good idea to share it with people that are directly affected by our idea. So we sent it out to the East Street neighborhood, other people. We've received comments in favor of it, some people against it, some people have different ideas on how they think it should be done. So I guess what I'm asking is to consider this plan. I would like it to be considered on a trial basis, like a 9-month period. To give us like July 1, that gives us fall, winter, spring, and a little bit of summer. Then we could reevaluate it, and it's just removing stop signs if it doesn't work. Or we can adjust it after that 9-month period to see what might work, what might not work, or this intersection's working, this one's terrible. So that's what I'm asking for you to consider. Consider our plan, temporary basis, it's working, if it works, if not, we can maybe come up with a better solution. Thank you.
So what I'm gonna do is, I'm sure there's some people here who wanna speak. Just come up to the microphone, or if you're on Zoom, just raise your hand, I'll recognize you. You can speak, state name and address, keep it brief. This is our first try at it, and as Chief said, we can do this as a trial, it's nothing permanent. So I just go ahead.
Good afternoon, evening. I'm Rob Slinger, 12 Gilmore Avenue. So I'm right in the heart of the Anderson Gilmore intersection there across from the courthouse. So I have a front row seat to the daily goings on. And I want to thank you all for improving the neighborhood because it's dramatically better, both in appearance and in driving ability. So much so that I think some of the speed problem has been exacerbated by that smooth pavement. That was the benefit of the old rough pavement, was it kind of kept them slow. This comes down to a kind of an 80-20 scenario. 80% of the time, it's a calm neighborhood. The morning rush, the evening rush, Saturday afternoons, the traffic level goes up. I can usually tell just by the flow of traffic on Gilmore and Hillside that I can see from my front window when downtown is backed up and when they're backed up past the bike shop and the fire station. So pretty easy to gauge when those peak times are. 20% of the time, that's when that's happening. Same can be applied to the drivers. 80% of the drivers are courteous and they sort of respect the neighborhood they're driving through. And they do a good job of paying attention to the speed limit, paying attention to the stop signs that do exist. 20% of the drivers give almost no regard for that. And we're talking speeds based 30 plus to sometimes 40 miles an hour, just by my trained eye to judge that sort of thing. The stop signs that face Gilmore from Anderson on both directions are often ignored, not just with a California stop, but we've seen several drivers just go rolling through at speed 30 plus miles an hour with no regard. And it's blind, definitely coming west on Anderson, because you've got Aaron's yard and his house, and you can't really see up Gilmore until you're in the almost in the intersection. So it is kind of a hazardous situation. In the 10 years I've been there, I can think of one accident that did occur because of that scenario. Someone went across when they thought they could, thinking that Gilmore had to stop, and the accident happened. So I think the ideal scenario in that corner would be to put up a cross traffic does not stop on Anderson. But if you put a stop sign on Gilmore, it's only gonna create the stop and go effect of the, what the stop sign would do, which then, in all the research I've done, says that people just tend to speed up as they race from stop sign to make up for lost time. Like I say, if we implement this, all the stops everywhere that the chief and Joe have laid out, it's gonna penalize all the local neighbors having to listen to every car that's stopping. I mean, 80% of drivers that are obeying the rules are gonna have to come to that complete stop. So I've got a whole host of things to leave you all with this evening. I am all in favor of let's give this a trial if that's the best we can do. I just think there are other options we could look at before we just throw up a bunch of stop signs and say, this is how it's gonna be. We'll try it for 9 months and go from there. Let's try a variety of things, see if we can maybe make the most sense. Thank you.
Well, just come right up and say your name. Yeah.
Jack Logan, and I did these to make everything clearer.
Just state your address.
105 East Street.
Thank you.
Wow, thank you.
Yep.
How good.
For sure.
And everybody else that wants, you can pass it back. No.
I've got two here if you want.
Okay, I'm Jack Logan. I live in the corner of Easton Cottage. And as Rob said, the stop signs can have little to no effect depending on the time of day and the traffic flow. And it seems that the stuff that's happening, like the chief stated, the stuff that's happening on Main Street for 4 lights and 6 crosswalks, one of them which is a pedestrian activated light that flashes. There's a high need for people who want to save time to cut that time. And also, like the chief said, those are the 3 streets. So if you look at the way all those 3 streets funnel into one, it's like a 3-lane highway funneling into one. The only way they can go is to the corner of Cottage to the east, and then down for a bridge, because the Cottage Street Bridge is out. So that's where they are, and that's what kind of makes the unsafe driving happen. I can, like Rob said, I can see that happen all the time. When I'm sitting on my porch, I can see the time of day just by who's speeding up and going through those stop signs. It's actually frightening sometimes. Rob said 40, and I don't know. Trained I swear that there's sometimes people reach 50. It's like, I'm gonna make it through and I'm gonna beat whoever I saw on Main Street to Main Street at the other end. There's 4 children under 8 at that corner of Easton Cottage. And there's also a bus stop there for kids for school. And there's been a couple of accidents there recently, one of them pretty severe. So I would be in favor of a stoplight at the corner of Eastern Cottage. Because everybody has to go through there. And, you know, if, I'm also in favor of, you know, if you want to try it for 9 months, then great, see if that works, but. From what I see on the porch, I think this is stoplight necessary at that point. And, again, I want to thank everybody. Select board, police department, you know, it's been a big help to have you guys, do what you've done now, and, we appreciate it.
Michelle LeBear, 70 Division Street. I just want to say I feel the pain these neighborhoods are going through because Division Street is Indy 500. I just wanted to say something because I lived at the corner of Cottage Street and Gilmore Avenue in the 80s and the 90s. And speed was an issue back then. And here we are, 2025, and we're getting on it. So, my husband and I, out of nostalgia, this weekend wanted to go buy our house, old house on Cottage and Gilmore. And we were going up on Hillside and there was a car ahead of us, just blew right through the stop sign on Hillside Avenue and Anderson Street. Even my husband commented, he said, hey, at least he could have done was a rolling stop. Didn't even do a rolling stop. I know firsthand, I lived right there, you have a wide view of what's going on. And we used to look out our deck sliders, I see the cars flying down Hillside, taking the curve then there and then flying down to Gilmore. One thing that goes on, if cars want to beat the traffic going into Great Barrington, they want to see how fast they can beat the traffic. They'll fly down Hillside, fly down East Street, and I don't know whether it's personal satisfaction. Hey, I really beat those cars that are on State Road. So it's a serious problem, but I think the problem is enforcement. It's that throughout the town, there's an issue with enforcement. This is not a criticism of the Great Barrington Police Department. They're fine officers, the Great Barrington Police Department, but maybe enforcement's lacking. I'm seeing it in my neighborhood, and this neighborhood's right in Great Barrington. I'm seeing it. I do know when I lived there, Officer Beckwith would patrol the neighborhood as a matter of routine. And he didn't hesitate to pull people over and ticket. So maybe that's what we have to start doing. Thank you.
Good evening, Don Small from Cottage Street. Thank you, first of all, for fixing that street in that area. It's made a huge improvement to our area. We have to agree with that. But I did speak and I spoke to a chief a couple months before this whole project actually got in, told him what our concerns were, like you mentioned earlier. And my wife and I have been talking about it since we moved in the house we're in now, that maybe all this has been done, we're thinking with maybe a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit instead of 25 might be something. And something else hasn't been spoken about, all those streets we're referring to, Hillside, Gilmore, all come on to Cottage. And we really haven't talked about what we could do to Cottage, just slow Cottage down for a speed bump or something. I'm not sure what the answer is, but we would appreciate whatever you look into for us. Thank you.
Bernie True, and my wife and I have lived in Gilmore Avenue since 1979. By my count, this proposal includes 17 stop signs, 20 to count the 3 at the state road intersection. That sounds like an enormous amount of stopping and going. And to echo what the earlier speaker said, the more you make some of these cars slow down, the faster they want to go between stop signs. My wife and I have here witnessed 2 accidents in the last 2 years at the 4-way intersection that exists, the 4 stop signs that exist. And I'm sure the police department has determined who was at fault. But people are. I don't have percentages, but a good amount of the time they're obeying the sign, but you have very many. Impatient drivers who sit there, get rev their engines when we try to cross the crosswalk. Braking light sign, you gotta stop. There's two reasons to stop the sign and finish. So. I just expressing lack of enthusiasm for this enormous amount of stop signs, maybe a few are warranted. One last anecdote, a good number of years ago. I was going through this four-way intersection of Cottage and East. A patrol car pulled up northbound in the other lane, sat there, so after a while made the assumption, well, the officer's being polite, so I edged out into the middle of the street, pointed and rammed in the side by the cruiser. The town ended up paying insurance to fix my car. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Hi, Renee Sloanaker, 12 Gilmore. And I just wanted to piggyback on some of the things everyone else has said and what my husband, Rob, said. And we have some things to leave for you. I know we sent a letter with some things we were talking about, but for everyone that's here that don't have that. Some of the things we are proposing instead of a lot of stop signs are some speed humps, much like the ones that you see in Stockbridge. And they're speed humps, so they're meant to go over at 20-25 miles an hour without any problem, and they seem to be very effective. In Stockbridge, they're effective in many other places that we both have lived. And where our daughter went to college at UVM, they had them at all the cities. And so we found that people really had to slow down. And when you make those into a crosswalk, for example, at Anderson and Gilmore, where the new beautiful sidewalks are, is we feel that would be a place where it would be really safe. We have a lot of families coming down from the apartments up on Hillside. There's families that live down on Anderson, and there's other families now on Gilmore. Lots of kids on scooters, bikes, and so for their safety, it really concerns me because people come through the stop signs all the time at Anderson. They don't stop. And there's been a lot of those calls. So that's a big concern, is making it safe for the children in our neighborhood as well as everyone else that walks their dogs. And all through the summer, we have quite a few cars and people that park at the courthouse to go into town for bus, because obviously town's busy. So a lot of times that parking lot gets used for events into town. So it's really for safety of not just our neighborhood, but everyone else that comes to use that neighborhood. So thank you for your consideration. And I wanted to ask Chief Swarty, you mentioned that.
Just ask me and then.
Oh, I'm sorry. He mentioned that putting up the stop signs or the proposal that you have and doing it for 9 months and then see what comes of that. How would you know if that's working or not working? Would it be based on people in the neighborhood? Where would the data be coming from to say that, yes, this is working, or no, it's not working?
I'll let Chief answer.
Yeah, that's a great question. So over the last few months, we've been trying to get our information data, the amount of traffic flow, especially from the East Street or the four-way on East Street south. So if anybody's heading south, those three roads, they come together as one. So I'm trying to get the number. So I'm working with our traffic signs that we have. As you can see, there's one out there right now. I talked to the company today because the numbers I was getting just didn't make sense to me. They were telling me like 2,000 to 3,000 cars an hour or several hundred an hour. It just wasn't lining up. So I called the company and said, this is the data that we're getting. How can we hone it in to an actual real amount? Because we do have data that was hand counted that Joe had done a while back. Joe Averdale as intern working on. So we actually have physical hand counted data for a short period, a couple day period of time. For 2024. So I'm working to try to figure out a way to collect that information from all those streets through the speed signs that actually collect the number, but I'm getting double readings is what's happening off of some of the signs. So I have to figure out how we can set them up so I don't get that those go, I don't wanna say ghost streets, 'cause it's actually a vehicle going through, but sometimes I'll get 2 or 3.
I get 9 miles an hour.
Yeah. So we are gonna try to put some mechanisms in place to be able to collect that information to see, prior to doing this, what the approximate traffic flow is, especially southbound.
How about the bump strips, they can lay out with counters?
That's another option. I just don't have those, so I'd have to purchase them or find someplace that we could
Just
just.
some.
So let's not have discussions.
Yeah, so that's, I do have some things in place to try to get that information so we can look at it. To see if it does reduce the number, because that's our whole goal, is to try to reduce people coming through there.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Stephen Freed online. Go right ahead, just unmute yourself. Yeah, right there. Just unmute yourself.
All right, can you hear me now?
We can.
Yeah, I just want to add more.
Just state your name and address for the record.
Sorry, Stephen Freed. I live at 118 East Street, and that's the
Okay.
house on the corner of East and Cottage. So I live right at that four-way stop, and unofficially, I would say that I've seen more cars not stop than stop at those stop signs. And we went through a period of calling the police department every time we saw it. We sort of gave up on that. We have seen officers posted out there. We really appreciate it, but we're crossing, my kids have 2 best friends who live across the street. We're crossing that intersection all the time. And I think more concerningly, I think it was Mother's Day 2024, somebody actually didn't stop. Somebody was coming down Cottage, somebody didn't stop on East. It spooked the person coming down Cottage, and they drove through our fence and into our front porch. I was standing about 15 feet away in the yard, and I saw it happen. So for us, this really isn't theoretical. People don't stop, and it scares us to have our kids out in the yard. It scares us to have our kids even crossing the street, particularly, I mean, it happens even at the school bus stop is on the other corner from us. Like, that's a high traffic time. So that's time that people also aren't stopping when their kids waiting out there for the bus. So as much as we want to see speed come down, which we definitely do, and we definitely would support anything that actually does that, I don't think stop signs will do it because people just blow them. And, the new lights have been put on the stop signs, the flashing lights, and we have not seen those do anything except light up our kids' bedroom at night. So,
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Just come on up.
Good evening, Karen Hoban, 105 East Street. So again, we're right at that corner of East and Cottage. I don't think stop signs work. I don't think that the lighted stop sign is working. I don't think that a stop light even is going to work. Honestly, I think enforcement is got to be the answer. Please ask us when there is the most traffic. Don't send an officer at Tuesday night. That is probably the quietest time of the week. We will tell you the busiest time of the week. Just ask us. Enforcement. Let's ticket these people. I think that is the best solution. The more that you get people to understand that this is going to cost them by speeding and not paying attention to the traffic signs, I think that is the best solution. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Hi, my name's Aaron Meshon. I'm 15 Gilmore, the corner of Gilmore and Anderson. And not to beat a dead horse, but first off, thank you so much. The road is amazing. We did lose our 2 huge trees, but the sidewalk is beautiful. And we have to replant in a different way, but it'll be beautiful. So thank you for that. I work at home and my wife works at home, so we are literally there 24 hours a day. I would say 50% of cars do not stop. I have cameras from an earlier incident where kids were banging on our house. And it is, I mean, it is 100 cars a day on the weekends, does not stop. I've witnessed 2 accidents. One car, not at the stop sign, flipped over and landed in front of our house and Justin's house. The hubcap hit our house. People also do loops around, like, I don't know if, but around sort of the state, Hillside, Gilmore, I'm sorry, Anderson and Gilmore, and I've seen loops like late at night. I can't make a right on our driveway, go on Anderson in the morning and make a left on Hillside to get to school. 75% of cars do not stop on the Hillside stop sign because it's behind. If you were to stop there, you can't see us coming up, and us coming up doesn't have a light. I literally cannot drive there. My wife cannot drive there. We were almost hit there walking the other day with our new puppy. The car went through 40 miles an hour, did not even stop. And I witnessed, and as I said, last spring, a truck went through at 40 miles an hour coming from east and just broadsided a car. I've also witnessed multiple people get out of cars. I witnessed a younger guy get out of a car, stop another car, and try to take the woman out of the car. So I've witnessed crazy stuff, UPS stuff, FedEx stuff. I'm home all day, and I had to build a fence to keep our 9-year-old from going in the front yard. Our 9-year-old is not allowed in the front yard. Our dog is not allowed in the front yard. And we used to have those horrible hedges that I had fun removing, and that made it better because it was a total blind intersection. So now they can see, and today I counted 12 cars went right through the stop sign at least 15 minutes. And I have a video to back it up. So I don't know, I mean, there's so many people and so many opinions. I would love like the large speed bumps, you know. But it's a lot, but the sidewalk is great. It's so great, and I love being part of the community. I've only been here 4.5 years in that house. So thank you guys so much. Thank you.
James?
Good afternoon, board. This is James Garzone, 84 North Plain Road. I just want to piggyback off what Michelle says. We know the town has a speeding problem on Division Street. I live on North Plain Road. People coming southbound down the hill, they're speeding. Maybe it would be good to have speeding signs where illuminate, maybe sometimes people don't realize they're speeding. Cars today, they go faster and people don't realize they're a lot smoother. But yes, overall, the town needs to do something with the speeding and the traffic. Thank you.
Thank you. Deanna? You're unmuted. Just unmute yourself and go ahead.
Okay,
State your name.
I live on the corner of,
Just state your name and address, please, for the record.
Fisher, 84 Cottage Street, one house. I'm next door to the house on the corner where we saw the destruction of their fences, their porches. We're one house away. I have only one different thing to add that no one else has mentioned. Have you considered radar? That's my question.
Okay, thank you. Are you talking about police operated radar or the speed
Police
signs?
operated radar. I moved here 5 years ago. Every town I go through, I follow those signs because I do not want to get a ticket. And I believe that the radar is in operation. I may be kidding myself, but the fact is people do worry about getting tickets.
But you can't give tickets from signs in Massachusetts, or from cameras. Chief, do you want to say anything from radar?
Oh, yes, we do radar in the area. I was there several times over, especially the last couple of weeks, just myself, to personally get a feel for what's been happening. And monitor the stop signs. Yes, they roll through. I was there today for an hour, just observing, doing a mental count of how many people don't come to a 100% complete stop. I did not see anybody go right through, but most of them did to like a rolling stop and then went through. We do radar, and I can tell you, I've done it myself. They're not going as fast as you think they are. And the way this Mass General Law, Chapter 9017 is written, it's reasonable and proper for the conditions, the time of day, the traffic flow, all this stuff. So when if we write somebody a ticket, they appeal, it goes to court. like, okay, they're going 5 miles an hour speed limit, is that reasonable, proper for the conditions, the time of day, to look at all that, and to get, it's very challenging at times to, get a successful disposition with a speeding ticket just for a few miles an hour with the speed limit. Something egregious, yes, it's a lot easier, but we're not seeing it. We're not seeing the egregious speeds that people think that they're going. Division Street, same thing, Route 41, 71. We have people that run your radar all the time. If they want to look at our daily logs or online, you can see all the deployments that we have for radar throughout the day. We are limited to, I wish I could send officers out there to run radar 8 hours a day, but we just don't have the personnel to be able to do that. We fill in when we can to do radars in certain areas, Mining Valley Road, Route 7, all those main roads, we try to hit them all. To spread out the enforcement. So look at our log, you can see where we are deploying the officers, when they're writing tickets, where they're stopping the cars. Our log is online, it's updated, you can see all that activity. Go ahead.
Naomi Blumenthal, 185 East Street. I wanted to represent for East Streeters. I understand that you guys have serious issues, and I'm not reducing that at all, but we don't have intersections. So we just have this long straight shot, and people love to go really fast on that straight shot. And there's no, I mean, there's a sidewalk, but there's no like space. And so people going, 35, 40, 15, 16 inches from you is terrifying. And I'm not sure that that even exists anywhere else, you know what I'm saying? Like it's almost like physically unmanageable to walk on that sidewalk. And so I'm wondering, if it's possible to do, like those speed humps on that middle of that straight shot, because that is where people gain speed and they feel like they can see the whole thing. So they're like, okay, it's clear, I'm going. And there is like that psychological thing that they're beating the traffic on Main Street, so they feel like it's like a competitive drive to do that. But anyway, so that's very frightening to walk on that. And I even am terrified to get my mail out of my mailbox because it's so close there. I have to very carefully watch the traffic before I reach around and get my mail because they're going fast. And also, I understand that part of it is GPS directs people away from Main Street because it shows up as like a traffic and then use this alternate route. I understand that there's a possibility to make that a block. I'm not sure if that's something the town can do, so that is not recommended by GPS to be used as an alternate route. That is something that has to go through the town offices. I researched this a while ago. We even had a radar gun, and we were clocking people at 36, 40, sometimes rarely, but more than 40 on East Street, which is totally crazy. But people do it, and we're like those annoying people who are like, slow down, and we get all kinds of responses. But it's walking on that sidewalk is really like walking next to a major highway. It's pretty crazy, and there's a lot now. There's kids. There's actually a lot of pedestrian traffic, which is nice, but it's frightening, and you could see people like startling, and it's really uncomfortable. So I don't really have a really good solution for that because I don't know where a police officer could park a car. That would be, that's a hard thing, but so I am appreciating that you guys are working on this and looking for a solution, especially since we're about to get some really nice new blacktop and it could get really hectic. So a speed hump in the middle of that straight shot, I think would help a lot. But I also don't have perfect solution, other than like trying to make it so it's not so fun for people to make that as a workaround. And if it's a real pain, great. So thank you.
Anyone else before the select board? Right ahead.
All right, I'm gonna be the caboose, Martha Clay, 30 Gilmore Avenue. However, I lived at East and Cottage for almost 30 years. And that four-way stop sign on East and Cottage, it was my 3-year-old daughter's first political action. We looked outside her bedroom window and there had been a horrific accident. And I went out and pulled a child out of a car seat. And I came to the select board the next week and I said, we need to do something on Easton Cottage. And that's how the four-way stop sign came to be on Easton Cottage. So I'm here full circle talking to all of you 35 years later, because I left that home to move in with my then 90-year-old mother on 30 Gilmore Avenue, who is now 97 years strong. And part of our daily exercise is to walk down Gilmore, which has been a treacherous experience for the last 7 years. We've done it on the street 4 seasons. So I'm here to talk about the seniors who live in our community. First of all, show of hands, how many people live on
Speak to us, it's not showing that. Speak to us.
Cottage, Gilmore? How many people?
No,
live
no,
there?
you're not listening, please speak to us, you have 3 minutes.
So what I want to say to you is, first of all, thank you for allowing the neighbors to sort of give you some input. Thank you for the chief for taking our health and our security seriously. Some of us want one thing, some of us want another. Most of us want you to hear that we're a neighborhood. We love being part of the neighborhood, and we want the neighborhood to be safer. Great Barrington has grown exponentially in the last 35 years. We live on Gilmore and Hillside, many of us, because we wanted a more rural experience in town. Putting the sidewalks in looks glamorous, but it's changed our neighborhood. None of us, nobody here asked the neighbors, the taxpayers, did we want the sidewalks? Do we want asphalt? Nobody asked us. Many of us are here tonight because for the first time, you asked for our input. That's why we're here. We want to be a neighborhood. We want to be a community. We want to give you our input. Please don't dictate to us what you think we want. Please have another meeting after, if the chief says 9 months, to say, did it work? Did all those stop signs work? What do we think? So if you could have a follow-up meeting in 9 months with all of the neighbors coming in and giving you input and deciding whether what you thought was a good thing to do was effective, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Well, I'm not involved with that, no.
That's what I
Usually only get to speak once, I'm gonna be really nice.
Okay, all right, sure. I forgot this, there's a new phenomenon that people might not be familiar with, and that is, they pull up to a stop sign and then they start texting. And they stay, and the person waiting to get through is looking at them, are they going, are they not going? Person behind them is beeping, and it just turns into a very tense situation that could get complicated very quickly.
Yeah, I see that. So, select board, first of all, Martha, yes, if we implement something tonight, when we come back in 6 months, 9 months, we will have the neighbors back. This is not a one and done. So, I've done this a long time, and I appreciate when the neighbors come. They're friendly, they're collegial, they all have maybe different ideas, but all the same idea, which is to slow traffic down and to make it safer. I mean, ultimately, that's what we all want, so that's fine. We're not ready to do speed bump, but I'm talking to the select board now, we're not ready to do that, we've not done it in town, we would need some engineers, we need Joe and the chief to work on things. I think we can do a two-phase approach to this, implement this plan with 6 months, 9 months, whatever, and in the meantime, ask for some traffic engineering and discussion about cost and whether this is, a speed bump would be safe, like they have in Stockbridge as you go through Main Street. But we're not ready to do that now, so it would be a shame if it took us 3 or 4 or 5 months to look into something and then just leave the neighborhood continue to be the way it has been for years and years. It's time that we do something. Garfield, go ahead.
Yeah, first, I guess I'm gonna take advantage of this position and state, but I stated before, and I'm really definitely now past up my state. We wasted money on those blinking lights. Obviously, they don't work. That was $1,800 a pop on those lights, blinking stop sign that don't work. I'm not happy about that. That was terrible. My other thought is, why don't we block off all those roads because a hazard, it's dangerous to the neighborhood, and let's see if we can make the stoplight quicker. People are freaked out because they gotta wait, isn't that? That's why they turn. So if we can make that stoplight, I'm just giving a guess, let's say it's a minute long, let's make it 30 seconds. Then you don't have to wait as long. And we don't have to worry about people cutting down the side roads because they won't be available. And I think that's important. I'm all about, I'm taking care of citizens. I live on Castle Hill Avenue. That road is very thin. I walk my dog there and there's kids on that road. And I've done many times yelled out, slow down, this isn't a racetrack. Knock it off, all things that in that nature. So personally, I don't have a problem with blocking off all those roads so people can be safe. And again, I don't know, again, maybe you can tell me it's a state pro light, but we can maybe do something about that. But I personally, I think if we make it stop, like less length of time, it would be, I think it'd be easier to do and people would be safer.
I think, actually, I think it would have the opposite effect, it would back up traffic further.
Well, if the light's not as long, and you know, this is the thing, sometimes we've grown, so we have to live with that, we can't always do something, you can't really do a lot about that, I don't know if speed bumps are the answer, maybe they are, but I think, yes. It might take a little longer, but it's safer and. We've grown. I can remember time, and I used to work at the plaza. And I don't care what day of the week it was, at about 3-something, the traffic was crazy. And people would always cut down their side roads because of that. But I think if those are closed and that stoplight isn't as long, it's gonna be less of, that's my opinion, less of a hazard. And I wouldn't have a problem driving down there and waiting to tad longer if it means safety for everyone.
Thanks, Phil.
Yes, on the topic, again, I appreciate all the work that goes into this and I appreciate everyone's comments. On the topic of the speed hump, other than the cost element of it, what is the argument against installing the speed humps?
I'm gonna refer to Joe Averdale. He has more expertise on that issue. And also if you could speak to what Garfield was saying, there's also part of this plan is a new system for the signs to communicate the streetlights to help with that. And again, Joe, we have a training coming up next Thursday on it.
Okay.
I'm not familiar 100% with it. Joe is. I think he should be on. Is he on? No.
I don't see it.
This is Chris. Typically, some of those issues with speed humps include stormwater control, plowing. Obviously, it's doable, but not without some engineering to take care of those sorts of things.
Joe is on, he just raised his hand. And that's what I was talking about, was it's not gonna happen overnight, so let's start small and then decide where we're gonna go. Joe, go ahead. So just gotta unmute yourself and do it, which are the process. Okay, let's just keep going, and when Joe gets that figured out, Eric.
Yeah, again, yeah, I read all the emails and I appreciate the big turnout tonight. This important. There's been a few times where in priority meetings, we have brought up this issue and I've done some projects on these roads and it is a raceway on those summertime things. I think this is a good plan. I'm happy that the chief and Joe have gotten a lot of work on this. I do think eventually we are gonna end up getting to the speed hump situation. I don't see even with this slowing it down, and I bet it will be effective for a while, for sure. At the end of the day, as the town keeps growing, as some of these apartments that keep popping up in town get developed and rented out. I see it being more congested. And whether it's this year, next year, in a couple of years, I do believe East Street, Gilmore and Anderson will have to have the speed bumps to really deter everybody.
Yeah.
So.
I can just,
Yeah,
and 'cause we've been talking about this for a while too, and getting feedback. I know this isn't new for people who live in this neighborhood, not new for anyone who's lived in this town for most of their life. It's been getting worse and worse. I think this idea of inconveniencing signs at the end of the day are ignorable. Bumps aren't. Like, I think that we are heading in that direction, or we are gonna have to find a way. But in the meantime, I think, like you said, we have to figure out how to make it work. This is, I think, a good short-term solution, and I think it will hopefully get us more data to really even kind of figure out the way to enforce it. Chief, I'm just kind of curious. So usually the speeding isn't necessarily something that would actually come hold up in court, essentially, you're saying, right?
Unless it's something really, really egregious.
Right. Rolling through stop signs, is that easier to?
It is easier.
So if we were able to, with these new stop signs in place, kind of have an enforcement plan to.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we first started thinking about this too, one of we'll say one of the aspects to it is the enforcement component. So you just can't throw the signs up and expect it to work.
Right.
Like, you have to have something behind that. So the second part was enforcement, like how can we increase our enforcement? Unfortunately, our call volume has increased dramatically over the last few years, due to many, many different reasons. The complexity of cases that we're working on, take more time, more energy, more resources. So for us, we fill in the gaps with traffic enforcement and other means of community outreach. We wrote a grant, Kara Becker worked on a grant a couple months ago for specifically, the part of that grant was just for the East Street neighborhood. There's a couple different prongs to it, but the East Street neighborhood, and we address that. And what that will allow us to do, if we do get issued this grant, is I'll be able to compensate and hire people outside of their normal working schedule to pay them to do targeted enforcement in the East Street area. I don't know if we're gonna get the grant, but that's part of it. It's not just put the signs up, educate, enforce, and get the message out there. It also distracted driving's another one, part of that grant, pedestrian safety and bike safety. So there's 4 components to that grant, but one of them is specifically for that East Street neighborhood. So it's not just put the signs up, here you go. We do have a larger plan, different layers to it.
Yeah, fantastic, thank you. Yeah.
What's the wish of the select board? We've heard from the neighbors, we've got to do something.
Just one more question. It's slightly off point, but Chief, the street lighted cottage in Maine, given that the bridge is out, does that affect some of these issues or in terms of the traffic flow in
It
Maine?
does. Joe has adjusted them.
Yeah.
Sometimes if a car parks in a certain area on Cottage Street, it'll affect the light, but I think he's changed the sensor on it, so it's not an issue anymore. Occasionally, we will get an issue if there's somebody at Taylor Rental, because that also does trigger. So it can, but we've worked to address it and minimize that impact on it.
Okay.
And if you hit that, the cross button, across the street.
Yeah, okay.
That impacts it too. That'll stop the traffic flowing north and south.
What we want to do.
Yes.
I'm not completely against the bumps, but I have a funny feeling. I wouldn't be surprised to come back here in 10 years and we're talking about the speed bumps. And I think people will take them and do the same as with the stop sign. We're gonna speed from one spot, speed bump to the other. That's my own.
So I stay with my idea that we start with this plan, we ask the chief and Joe to come back to us with, some engineering studies, some prices. And we do this as a trial, so something gets started with. Because I know how this is gonna go, it's gonna go slowly. If we wanna investigate speed bumps, it's not gonna happen in like 3 weeks.
Right, I think we go forward with the plan that Joe and Chief Storty have been working on and let it play out for a while. Let's see what happens with the enforcement, the education, everything that Chief just said. And then reevaluate it. I think. And I made the comments that I think eventually we'll end up with speed bumps here and other locations, but I think it's a gradual move and we'll work up to it, so.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I think do the trial, get more data on your side. Get this in place, get more input from the neighbors down the line, and that's how and then hopefully also we have the answers on what the future of the speed humps might look like, so.
I think there's a multi-phase approach, and I would also say to the neighbors, if after a couple months, it's either working great or not working, come back to us. Send us the emails, don't ignore it.
Let me ask you a quick question, what does the stop sign cost?
That would be, again.
We're not doing flashing stuff.
Just, I know, just regular stop sign.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Again, that would be Joe's,
Less than $500?
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
we're not spending outrageous amount of money.
That was part of the issue, trying to do what we had in a short period of time, that's something to start the conversation, to get something in place that's easily adjustable, modifiable. We can evaluate and decide, this is intersection's working, this one's not, let's try here. So it's very fluid, and we got the conversation started, we're slowly the most important part.
Joe says a stop sign is $185.
And how much is it painting?
How much you want?
The painted just because of paint, which
Slow
his
stop.
staff does it.
Yeah,
So whatever the cost of paint, he has staff that gets done, so
we don't hire.
If we're doing data during the winter, that won't apply to some traffic.
Which is why Chief's suggestion was 9 months.
Yeah.
To make sure we get all of it, you're absolutely right, whenever they do traffic counts in the 12 winter, I just laugh at them.
September and October are gonna be very telling.
Yeah.
Because they're big.
Yeah, quickly, man.
So what's the date? We're all gonna reconvene?
9 months, we said, but sooner.
Days on your docket?
So do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the traffic and pedestrian safety control measures in the East Street Gilmore Avenue area.
Go to second.
The second question.
Yeah, go ahead, Frank.
All right, I would love and hope to think if we do go to the speed bumps, and I'm very financially tight, maybe. I really hope we can maybe grant for this, because I hate to think that now you're gonna add more taxes to the raw. I believe in safety because like I said, I'd like to have it closed or only for people that live down those roads. Make it safe for everyone and make that light pusher, I think would be less cost than putting in speed bump, and then who's gonna pay for these speed bumps?
If they're coming back to us with the prices, so we'll know before we authorize it, what it's gonna cost us, that's one of the things they have to come back to us, so I agree with you, careful. Anyone else? All in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, fine.
Garfield, one day you're gonna have to give me your opinion on the blinking stop.
You really. Hold that close to the back.
Yeah, that's true, that.
The gentleman spent significant money on me. But with the dots, yeah, right off.
Right there. Yeah.
Mostly don't stop.
It is, yeah. Kind of, no,
That's all space.
yeah, which is good. Oh, good, yeah. Yeah, good.
Okay, next is a public hearing, an application for the addition of an outdoor alcohol service area to the wine and malt on-premise license at Halfrest, 342 Main Street. Halfrest received their outdoor or indoor license in February, approved by the state in March. They're now requesting, they haven't opened yet. They're now requesting some outdoor seating, so do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So move.
Do I have a second? The roll call vote, Phil.
Aye.
Ben.
Aye.
Garfield.
Aye.
Eric.
Aye.
And I. Do we have someone here? To explain the process? Come right up, state your name and address. Thought I recognized.
My name is Abby Pendergast. I live on 30 South Prospect Street in Great Garden, Lee. I am just requesting permission to have a couple outdoor tables on the walkway leading up to the front door of my space. I'm hoping to open this weekend. And yeah, requesting a couple outdoor tables.
Do I have anyone from the public wishing to speak in favor or opposition? Yep.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Tom Blavelt. I work at Will and Taylor and I'm just here on their behalf, of course. We're at 33 Main Street, they're at 343. We're not here to speak in opposition for their application. We wish the Half-Rats all success and congratulate them on their venture. Now, having said that, we just have really two main concerns that I emailed the town manager and the select board secretary this morning. Our main concern is there is an alleyway between our building and the old BCC building. And forever, we had a gate that secured it, so pedestrians couldn't cut through the alleyway into our parking lot. Now, when the developer took possession of the property, he moved the gate, he installed new steps and hung, I think it's a lot of his AC units on the alleyway. Now, we only own 2 feet of that alleyway from our building and the developer onto the rest, so it's a little awkward. And we would like, if possible, to get the gate put back, and we could share a key as we did with BCC. We're just concerned that there's no lighting. It's pretty steep, and then when you get down the stairs, it's just a ramp to our parking lot, so we're just concerned at nighttime. You know, we allow the public to cut through. God forbid, you know, we're in the risk management business, so risk avoidance business is even better, so we're hoping just to share this concern with you guys for your consideration as the process moves forward. And then secondly, when deliveries are scheduled, we just don't want the delivery vehicles in our parking lot. We've had some issues with some of the tradespeople or movers, they park in our lot and they go through, there's a back door into the building right from our lot, so I think those are our main concerns. Again, just for you guys to consider as the process moves forward. So I appreciate your time.
Anyone else to speak in? favor, or opposition? I think having those comments made publicly should get, hopefully, the owner of the building. Abby's only a license, but I appreciate that. Questions from the select board?
I have a.
Yeah, go. Where is that? Abby, come on.
Just for clarification, the drawing that was in shows three tables. That's pretty much what we're thinking.
Yeah, we're thinking three, like maybe two top tables.
Yeah.
Two little seats on each side.
And then the service hours for outside, obviously seasonal as voting, but
Our hours are gonna be from 4 to 10, and it's gonna be kind of you order at the bar and then you sit down here for that.
Yeah.
So,
What's the width of the table that you're thinking of having inside?
I don't have the exact width of the table. It's
Damn.
41 inches. Oh, she knows.
So I'm just kind of, so you have got two on one side and one on the other, what's kind of what's left in between as far as like a pathway, just from sidewalk to the door?
Well, actually, we set it up today with just two tables on just the right-hand side, and you have 5 feet of space between, just to walk up. We didn't set it up with 3 tables, so I'm not 100% sure I'll have the space, but with just 2 tables, we have 5 walkable space.
Yeah, that was,
Yeah, quick math equation, you get.
Just come up, you're gonna speak. That's the thing. Good, come up, I'm encouraging you to come up, not asking you not. Just so people can hear who are,
Yes, of course.
and state your name.
Shannon Burns, 24 Manville Street, Great Barrington. I'm the project manager of the space that she's building out. So she is, if she had 2 tables on each side, she did the more conservative plan to give to you, even though she probably will likely do 2 tables, but she will have 3 feet of space in the walkway for access. It is you know, the permit as it is pulled is ADA, so it's accessible. So that shouldn't be an issue there. She did decide to have 3 tables.
yeah.
Other question?
they're just gonna meet all the requirements for the outside seating.
Yeah, well, that one other, I've always conscious of people behaving, if you will, or having someone checking on, so will there be someone that's gonna be down about the charge? I don't know what your setup is, I don't come down to that often down. But that will be taken care of by the tip person or whomever will be able to check people's IDs, et cetera.
Yeah, the bartender, the person behind the bar will be taking care of all of that, which will most
And
likely
there's
be
no way
myself.
like a teenager could sneak in without someone knowing.
No, definitely not. I mean, I've been bartending and managing the sprayer well for the last 7 years, so I've handled underage people and making sure people are not drinking excessively.
Anyone else? Motion to close the public hearing?
So move.
Second.
Motion second, roll call, Phil.
Aye.
Ben.
Aye.
Garfield.
Aye.
Eric.
Aye.
And I. Select board discussion. Seems reasonable, it's not blocking around sidewalk.
Yeah, not on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
And they have the space to make sure that there's no issues getting to the actual buildings.
Yeah, and hopefully you already mentioned it. I think the concerns that were brought previously are more concerns for the 2 building owners as opposed to the business, the person leasing the space.
So
So
I'm sure you'll hear about it and hopefully we'll do something about it. Bill and Taylor is reasonable to work with. So do you have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the outdoor alcohol service area of wine and malts to half racks at 343 Main Street, Great Barrington.
Have a second.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call, Bill.
Aye.
Ben.
Aye.
Garfield.
Aye.
Eric.
Aye.
And I, unanimous. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Licenses and permits, application for a temporary liquor license. Life Needs Co-op for the Stanley Home Harvest Road fundraiser, 205 North Bend Road, Saturday, September 13th, from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Someone here?
There was a Joseph Scott.
You hear me?
Yeah, just state
Oh,
your name and address.
perfect. Thank you so much. Leslie Teledera, I'm from Stanton Home at 205 North Plain Street in Great Barrington.
Thank you. You want to just give a brief explanation of the Stanton Home Harvest Roast fundraiser?
Yep, so this is an annual event that we have. It is from 5 to 9 p.m. on Saturday, September 13th. And it consists of a barbecue, music, and a bar. And
Any? Go right ahead.
no,
Any
that's it.
questions from- Okay, any questions from the select board? Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the temporary liquor license for Light Needs Court to co-op for the Stanton Home Harvest. Let me start again. Alright, let me make a motion for the approval of the temporary liquor license for Life Needs Coop for Stanton Home Harvest Roast fundraiser.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Good luck to you.
All right, thank you so much.
Okay. Next is an application for a common victualer's license, Old Bird Farm Bakery, 490 Main Street, Unit 5, Great Barrington. I think I saw someone here. Yeah, there you are. Just a brief. Doesn't have to be a brief, it's a new business. Tell us what you're doing.
Sure, Kurt Barberry, 259 North Plain Road in Housatonic. We are going to be opening a takeout bakery. We won't have seats for chairs or anything. We will have an array of baked goods, obviously everything from your scones and muffins and brownies, cookies, etc. We'll also be doing egg sandwiches and soups to take home.
Ready for a motion?
Yeah, I make a motion to approve the town victular license for Old Bird Farm Bakery at 490 Main Street in Great Barrington, Unit 5.
There was something.
Second was,
Discussion.
it's actually Oddbird.
Yes, it is. I'll bring my glasses.
Any other discussion? Yeah.
So our basic question, you're taking the empty retail space that's on the
To the
west
right
side?
of Travis.
Okay, okay. You're taking one floor or two floors?
We get 2 floors, but then there's still office space above us that's available, but
Okay,
yeah, bakery will be on the bottom floor, and then we get to have office space upstairs.
okay, great.
And you're not baking on site, right?
We are baking on,
Oh, you are baking.
we are putting in a commercial kitchen
Oh,
as well, yeah.
So roughly, when do you plan on opening? When do you plan on opening roughly?
Hopefully the 2nd or 3rd week of September.
Right.
All right, thank you.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Okay, previous business, continued from August 11th, discussion of liquor license application and disposition. Let's give a little history. We had, when Gorman Norton's closed and we continued their liquor license for what amounted to 180 days. Some of us realized that this was becoming more of a problem. It may not happen again for years, but if there is a license after a business is closed, what is the time limit to keep that license active until the board says, you know, it's been 6 months. And we realized you're trying to sell the license. Now, we're not talking about business that's open, that's selling the business. We're strictly talking about business that's closing. And instead of using the town's liquor license as collateral, just to make money, if you're selling the business, that's a different story. But when you start selling the license, how long do we want to wait? And there's been a couple suggestions, 190 days, 130 days. I think right now we have before us on our suggestion was 90 days. So, you know, I did talk to one store owner who, and they thought it was a fine idea. They didn't see any problem with that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I guess I just want to reiterate, I said it last time, during this meeting, but I think we set the mark at 30 days with the possibility of a 90-day with the 90 days total. And then, and we just leave it at that, so it should be 30 days, in my opinion. If there's some sort of, court holdup or closing holdup or lawyers, whatever, causing delays. They have 90 days in total from the day the door closes on the business, and then that's the end of it. Then it comes in back to the town. So in that way, mostly just so we're not holding up a new younger business that's trying to start off, it's the plan on it, and as we saw this last time, it did affect a business that was starting out in town. And I can see it being that way in the future now. So, and I think it puts the pressure on the business. If they're closing, they usually know if it's a death or something unexpected. I understand that there's concern there, but if there's a business that is knows it's closing and it's marketing to close and trying to send, still doesn't. Maybe after 30 days, they come to us and we give them 60 more days, but that's. I just see that it has to be very clear, and I think it has to be a pretty quick transaction personally.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really good point, because I was honestly thinking just make it 90 days flat, just because so many things can happen, as we saw with this last case. But the idea of kind of making sure that it is moving as fast as possible with the 30 days does make sense.
I'm offer the 30 days. But I would like to limit the extension to another 30 days and make it 60, not 90. But I think that was pretty detrimental, pretty obvious, just the last going on, so I think especially when you're close. I think it should take 90 days to figure that.
I think instead of making it so complicated, let's just put 60 days down and cut it in the middle and not make the board make another decision and have people come back to us. And then depends when we schedule a meeting. Et cetera, we don't have a meeting scheduled for 3 weeks. And then uses up, I just say, it's a heck of a lot better than what we have now.
Yeah.
Bill, sorry.
Yeah, I take your point. Just to clarify what you were suggesting, Eric. To me, what would make sense in your idea is that you have the 30-day limit, and if they come to the town with some type of evidence of a contract or a preliminary agreement, but they need more time to lawyer it all up, then we would give them an extension. So if I would want to maybe tighten it up a bit, so and have that requirement, but I'm also okay with Steve's idea just to keep it simple and just go 60.
I think it's so much better than what we have right now, and I think it could get complicated.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
So let's try and look.
Let's see.
I think reading that, make a note.
I make a motion that in the event of a permanent closure of a business at the above referenced license, this license will be rendered invalid if not transferred in compliance with MGL chapter 138 within 60 calendar days of cessation of business operations.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. New business, review of the special permit application from Andrew Kotleski on behalf of Bertha and Leo LLC owners to alter existing non-conforming single unit residence on a lot with no frontage and to construct accessory structures at 235 North Plain Road, Barrington. Make a recommendation to the ZBA. So this is not a special permit for us, it's a recommendation to the ZBA. You want to give us a little background on this, or a lot of background?
Sure. Yeah, so I'm Andrew Kotleski, I'm representing Bertha and Leo LLC, and the property at 235 North Plain Road. It is tonic that we'd like to partially demolish and renovate the house, put an addition onto it, and then build an accessory garage and ADU. The issue, or the reason we're going to special permit for the zoning board, is because the lot has no frontage. And That's pretty much it. So it meets all the other requirements in regards to setbacks and boundaries and lot area. And when all the structures will be conformed to the zoning bylaws or dimensional requirements, just as zero frontage. Currently, there's a right of way through a neighboring property to access the lot from this footprint.
And this is grandfathered in right now.
There is a deed dating back to 1948 that discussed the right of way in property. After that, it's sort of DVD.
Cool, questions? Is there anyone here to comment on this?
What, I'm just curious, what do you do with the ADU, that for you to live in, do you then make that rental?
I believe it's for guests to stay at, I believe, is that?
Could be,
Could be it, could be either.
could be our kids stay there. Or could be that it's, we rent it.
Anyone else? We'll have a motion, sounds like make a positive recommendation with the ZBA.
So, yeah, I make a motion to make a positive recommendation to the non-conforming single unit resident on a lot with no frontage, construction accessory structures at 235 North Plain Road, Great Barrington.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, next. Go through the paperwork here. Would be. Yep. Okay, next is review and approve transfer of unspent bond proceeds to debt service. Ally, I've unmuted you, Chris is also here, as if one of you just gives a brief explanation, this is kind of housekeeping.
Ally, why don't you go ahead?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, there's 3 items here that are basically they're the authorizations that were bonded for the full amount, and then the equipment that was purchased came in just under. So that left some residual unspent bond proceeds that we can close out to general fund for debt service payments, which will essentially go to free cash.
Thank you. Any questions from the select board? Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to authorize the select board, authorize the sum of $14,693.65, representing the surplus borrowed funds for projects that are now complete and for which no further financial liability remains, to be transferred to the general fund long-term debt service principal amount to pay principal and town indebtedness that is due and payable in the current fiscal year in accordance with the provisions of MGL 4420.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimously. Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Chris. Okay, review letters of interest for the vacant finance committee seat. There were 2 applicants for the finance committee. We have a letter from the finance committee. Unanimously voted to recommend that select board appoint Michelle LeBear to the vacant position on the finance committee. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to recommend Michelle Lubert to the, or advance Michelle Lubert, appoint Michelle Lubert to the finance committee.
Do I have a second?
All the above.
Second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Be unanimous.
Congratulations.
The next is appointment to the Historic District Commission. We always want people to apply, so not gonna split hairs. We do have a recommendation from Don Hall, the chair. Would be nice to have a recommendation from the committee, but I'm sure this person is very good, so do I have a motion?
I make a motion to appoint Annalyn Lacombe to the Historic District Commission.
For a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you very much.
Are you here?
Library services presentation. The floor is yours.
Hi, my name is Dawn Jardine. I am your library director. And we have many of our trustees here tonight, and we also have Donna Brown. She's one of our assistant directors. And Sharon, the chair of our board of trustees, who is passing some information for you. What I'm gonna do is just kind of go through some highlights of FY25 and then give you some highlights of the year that we're in and things that we're working on. So I just want to start off by saying that this is the third library that I have directed. And Barrington is a very literate community. Circulation is huge. As you can see on the infographic I gave you, it's 119,495. Of that number, 104,000, a little bit more, I think, were reading materials. And because I like numbers, what I did was I took that 119,195 number and divided it by 365, and it turns out that Great Barrington borrowed 327 items every single day of FY25, which is pretty cool. I also just want to emphasize that those circulation numbers, there's a lot of things they don't include. For example, if you read a New York Times or a Wall Street Journal article, well, it's not. Given that, I still believe that the value of the library is as a third space. I think that's its most important function. And if you look on that paper and you see the Wi-Fi usage numbers, that's an indication of how many people are coming into our spaces with a laptop. Usually it's a laptop, sometimes it might be a phone or a tablet. And using our Wi-Fi to get some work done, maybe have a meeting, meet with a client, meet with a student. There's also a number there for public computer usage. These are folks that come in and sit down at Ransdale. They borrow a laptop. At Mason, they sit down at a desktop and they don't have a device of their own, so they're using ours. These folks especially need often help navigating the internet or using programs like Word or Excel. So it requires a lot of staff assistance. I've also included meeting room stats because that's a big thing that the libraries provide for the community. About 140 of that is the community room at Mason, and the rest are the study rooms. And it doesn't include any library related use of those rooms. That's all public use. So now I just want to mention two library services that we don't think about very often. We don't really have stats for them, and you probably don't think about them. And that is the History and Archives room is one of them. And a lot of times patrons come in and they want to know about an event that happened decades ago, or they want to know about their ancestors, look up an obituary. They want to know the provenance of their homes. Staff assistance is always required with these requests, especially if they want to use the archives because they're locked. I want to tell you one case where a request for historical information benefited everybody in this room that you may not know about. And Donna was the one who told me about this. An engineer came in for Brookside Bridge. And he asked Donna and Christine, Christine is our head of circulation, has that site ever flooded? So it took a little searching, but they did find some information in a book. I think Bernie Drew left, and I think it was Bernie Drew's book. And that information in the book allowed them to do a very targeted internet search, and they were able to. Another service that you don't hear very much about is when we do interlibrary loan, it goes beyond CW Mars, which is our local network, and sometimes beyond Massachusetts. And Donna also does these for both libraries. And oftentimes it's books, but sometimes it's articles. It might even be sheet music. So, she's getting these items for people to help them with some more challenging research needs. So I'll tell you briefly two things that happened in FY 25. One is Naxos. And that is a streaming classical music service that we added. And if you download the app, you can play it in your car, you can play it at home if you're having a party, whatever. And Jamie, who is our other assistant director, happens to be a trained musician, so she has playlists up there, so make sure you look for those. I also wanted to tell you about Valerie, who is our youth librarian at Mason. And she loves to do monthly themes. She's a former educator. And what she does is every month she picks a theme and she sets out activities and things for kids and families to do when they come in. And that's mostly where you get that number of self-directed activities of 790. September's theme is farm animals, and Valerie has told me that there will be sheep and chickens at Mason Library, but not at the same time. And you will be very happy to know that I drew the line at pigs. No pigs. So I want to tell you about two things that we're working on this year. One is information literacy. So Jamie, who's the head of adult programming, and I are working on a series of programs for the public that will help them discern quality information, help them detect misinformation and disinformation. I think we all know how important these things have become. So please look for that in probably late spring. We're hoping it'll be a series of 3 or 4 events. And just on a side note, Thursday we have our staff development day, and all staff will have a 2-hour workshop on information literacy for information professionals. So we're also thinking about educating ourselves. Another thing that we're working on this year is an initiative to promote early literacy. And what we're thinking we may do with the help of their friends is purchase tote bags. And each tote bag will have maybe 5 or 6 books in it. There will be a theme, like dinosaurs, and there will be a level, preschoolers. So families can come in and they can grab the bag on dinosaurs. It's got 6 books in it. They're all set. And then return it in the same way. So we're hoping that by making things very convenient for caregivers, there'll be more family reading going on. I have to end on a slightly negative note. And that's IMLS, which if you're not familiar with, is the Institute of Museum and Library Services. It's a federal agency. And the current administration has basically eliminated it. IMLS constitutes, I want to make sure I get this right, 0.0049% of the federal budget. So that's 49 millions of the federal budget. The end result of that is that Massachusetts could lose $3.6 million for library services. Now, nothing is set in stone until, Congress sets the budget in September. So we're not quite sure how this will affect us. We do know that we lost about half, a little bit more than half of our databases, our research databases that the state is paying for. We do know that they have suspended all grants to local libraries. And we do know that about half of the jobs at MBLC are funded from the federal government. So more to come on that. There is some reassuring news, and that is that state aid is not effective so far, and also construction project. So I really want to thank you for giving us this time and for listening. It's been, a really busy meeting, and I appreciate it. And I'm going to turn it over to Sharon, who's the chair of the.
So I hope you can all see why we're delighted to have Dawn here and Donna and the rest of the team. All of the trustees are here. Laura Mars, Ruby Chang, Sandra Pantorno, Lauren Clark, and Pat Hollenbeck is zooming in. we wanted to talk with you. We don't have an ask tonight, but there's a lot of information that we feel like we need to give you. It became clear during the budget debate last year, that was not just my first debate as a trustee, but it was also my first time through the budgeting process in Great Barrington. And some alarm bells rang for me. But I think we can provide information that maybe will help set a different context moving forward. So I've given you some information. The first part of it, we get from MBLC. They work with the Department of Local Statistics, which is a department of Mass DOR, to do a cut of funding and expenditures and appropriations town by town across the Commonwealth. Now, these buckets don't actually equate to our buckets, but they are consistent across all of the cities and towns. So they're great for comparison. But what the one thing is that they slice out for you is library funding. And you can see from the first pie chart that library funding in 2024, most recent data we have, 2025 before the budget season. Great Barrington's library budget was 1.4% of our municipal pie in 2024. During the budget last year, we were asked about how we compare with surrounding communities. I didn't eliminate anybody, but I didn't want to give you tomes of I spent enough at Staples today. I mean, so like a little donation for the month. Stockbridge is 1.84% of their municipal pie. West Stockbridge 0.83%, the only one lower than us. Sheffield 1.91%, Leonard 1.76%, Lee 1.46%. And I could give you any others. I have all of the Berkshires in a folder. So what bang are you getting for the buck for this funding? I think Dawn gave you some really good overview on it. And for the municipal pies, you'll see a chart that compares us to the surrounding communities that you have applied for. You don't have to get to that. What you'll see from that chart is that our absolute numbers in circulation are higher. And that our per capita numbers in circulation are higher. Now, circulation is only one measure of library service, but it's one that we have downloaded from various reports. So this chart is here. And again, if you want to know about any other communities, we're happy to pull them out. So we have higher circ all across the board, and we're open a lot more. So we're getting funded at 1.4%, and we have more opening hours than people who are being funded much higher. You're getting a lot of great value. But what happened in the recent budget cycle was pretty alarming to us, in that we came in with a really modest ask of 1.38% raise in our budget. And other departments were being praised for coming in with frugal budgets. We were actually cut by nearly 1% last year. And that was a surprise to us because we think that we've been delivering a lot of value. So it shouldn't have been actually that much of a surprise though, because if you flip to the next page, you're going to see library funding trends in Great Barrington. I apologize for how small that is, but I can send you the PDF so you can enlarge it. I wanted to scale it so that all columns were on the same page. And I didn't want to delete any columns because I wanted to be transparent. But what you'll see there is that while from 2003 till up about 2018, 2019, we were funded hovering around 2% of the municipal pie. But then we started a steady decline. And we got down to 1.4%. I said, I'll give you 2025 at budget season, but then we got an actual cut this year. Not just, so we're alarmed and we do have commitments. So, I mean, I think we're all reasonable. I think we all value libraries. So what was going on? Why did libraries get cut? And I have to believe that there was some kind of assumption that because we have 2 library sites that we must be overspending on libraries. So I think I've already tried to show you how we fit in comparison with our neighboring communities. But I want to address a couple of other things that I actually heard. This is not me mind reading. Here's one myth. Great Barrington is the only town of its size with more than one library. Not even close, okay? Irving is a town with 1,665 residents. They have 2 libraries. Williamsburg, 2,500 and change, 2,504, 2 libraries. West Tisbury, 3,555, 2 libraries. Warren, 4,975, 2 libraries. Hadley, 5,325, 2 libraries. Chatham, 6,594, 2 libraries. Then comes us, 2 libraries. Orange is our nearest. 7,569, 2 libraries. Oxford, 8,203, only 1 library, but a staffed off-site storage facility, so 2 sites. Montague, 8,580, 3 libraries. Freetown, 9,206, 2 libraries. Sutton, 9,357, 2 libraries. In case you wondered why I went up into the 9s, is that I had to get myself to Dennis. Dennis, on the Cape, 14,674 in all of the villages that make up Dennis, 5 libraries. So if anybody says to you, we're the only town with 2 libraries of our size, just say no. Tell them to come to me, send you the chart, you can give it to them. I'll put it on a postcard, okay? I've also heard no one uses Ramsdale Library because it's always empty when I'm there. It's pretty solipsistic, but anyway. Ramsdale was closed, we know, during the pandemic. And I speak from experience that any institution or organization that is shut down for an extended period of time. My nonprofit went unfunded by the state in 2018 for too long, and I had to lay off everybody. It takes time to open up again. You don't just open your doors and you start from where you left off. It's a 3 to 5 year process. So when Ramsdale reopened, we had 5,000 visits in our first year. Visits were up by 20% this past year, and usage is increasing. And we're not going to extrapolate from 1 month to say what that year is, but we'll be able to give you a projection by the spring. And in case anybody says we're cooking the books on visits, something else I've already heard, I'm here to tell you we have people counters on our doors. And we don't just take those numbers, we check them against circulation, again, just a little bit of a measure on visits. And we are often adjusting down. And that means we're missing visitors. We're probably missing a lot of evening meeting people. But we don't want to inflate, and we want to always err on the side of caution. So these are solid numbers we're giving you. And these are numbers for a library that doesn't yet offer key services. There are no meeting rooms in Ramsdale. I've heard from staff that people find little corners and nooks to use, but there's no really good, solid computer workstations. Yes, they have laptops to lend out, but I can tell you that when we run our trustee meetings at Ramsdale, and I have to plug in the OWL plus my laptop, I am crawling on the floor with extension cords. This is a library that's not yet set up for the kind of use that our residents need, and we're still getting visitors. So there is a pent-up use. We only have 1 floor, it's not ADA accessible, so people who need a dignified solution to personal needs are either cutting their visits short or they're not coming at all. And our numbers are still increasing, so let's understand there's an audience there. I actually heard somebody say, I think with all the best intentions, 2 libraries are a luxury we may not be able to afford. So I've already covered the relatively low funding, right? But I was trying to figure out what's behind that argument. And I think it's a misunderstanding of the way people use libraries. I think it's seeing libraries as a site of transaction. People come in, they get what they need, and they leave. But that's not the way our libraries are used. It's not the way a modern library is used. It's not. This is a public space, and it's used by a lot of remote workers. I did note the guy, the guy from East Street who said that he and his wife are incarcerated in their home all day with remote working. I said, let's go see them and invite them to Mason, right? There are lots of people working remotely in our libraries. This is the meeting spaces used by small businesses and independent consultants. A lot of that happens in our libraries. Well, in Mason, not yet in Ramsdale. it is a social site, and it's let residents not just interact in knitting groups or book groups and all, but it also lets them be alone together. That they can come there and they can read, or they can reflect, or they can listen, or they can watch, and they're not by themselves. And that is really important when we know that there's a crisis of isolation and loneliness. When we used to have a real surge in general in 2023, it was identified actually as an epidemic in our country. So I think let me go back to what we were doing, Alone Together. It's a programming site. We've already talked about all of these things. I haven't seen you guys yet at the reading series. Poetry readings been going really well. It's a reading readiness site. And this is really important because family literacy is a library sweet spot. We don't work with the isolated child, we work with the family. We increase reading skills in the family, and that makes children more ready to go to school. And it's a tutoring site. That's often, the history room or the meeting rooms in Mason are often being booked by people who are tutoring local adult English language learners. So let's say you're thinking still about closing Ramsdale. If you close Ramsdale, you're going to take away the possibility of providing these kinds of services in our second population center in town. And we know that walkable communities in rural areas are signally important. It was all over the 2013 master plan. It's not going away. And in our incredibly fractured society, it's even more important now. I'm getting close to the end. I know it's been a long day for you guys. And what I want to just also say is look at the development that's either underway or planned or being prepared for in Housatonic. The habitat development, walkable to Ramsdale, not walkable to Mason. The former school, when that is renovated, certainly walkable to Ramsdale. All those vacant mill buildings. And I hate to say, but once we solve the water problem, you know that Housatonic is poised for more development, and it's going to be more concentrated development. And Ramsdale is part of that future. And that's why I want to go back. Just remember Dennis with their 5 libraries. They are serving villages that make up their town. So let's just think about who we're serving and how it fits. A little bit more community development thinking, I think, might go into that. So when we come to this year's budget cycle, we'll update you on our facts and figures. I'll probably give you some more charts, but I wonder if I could give them to you by email, so I don't have to pay the money. But
Bring it to the select board's office or send it to Natalie.
yeah, I will. I'm home teasing about that stuff, just so you know. But one of the things we will be doing besides updating is we're really gonna have to advocate for better treatment when it comes to appropriations. And I know we have problems in our town. I know. And I'm in sympathy with it all. And we also know that you can't fix everything in one fell swoop. But we'd like to work with you on a 5-year plan to get us back up much closer to that 2% of the municipal pie. Because that's where we need to be to serve this incredibly literate community and provide the services that all of our residents need. And I don't think this is a lot to ask, because if you think about it, not just in our town, across the Commonwealth and throughout the country, libraries are non-means tested. You don't come in with charity if you can't afford a ticket. You aren't asked to donate more if you can. Everybody comes in on an equal footing to access the resources and the cultural enrichment offered in this wonderful public institution. We serve children from birth through kindergarten and their families. We serve the school age population after school. We serve the school age students during the summer, and our summer reading program is one of the ways that we try to combat what's called the summer slump and that reduction in reading skills that happens when schools are closed. And we serve the post-high school population, in other words, all the rest of us. And in particular, we're serving seniors And we know that that's a very large component of our population. At a time of income inequality, social stratification, and the attendant resentments that develop, 2 libraries are not a luxury. They're an opportunity, an incredible opportunity to bring people together in our 2 population centers, providing services and materials that ease burdens and delight curiosity. They provide opportunities for interaction, for social engagement, but also, and equally important, spaces in which people can read, study, or work while also being in community. Our 2 libraries should be really a source of pride, especially when, as we've shown you, they're being run with such a little claim on the annual municipal pot. So thanks for listening. I'm sure you'll have to listen to me again in a couple of months.
Thanks, Sharon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Okay,
Thank you.
I'm gonna read this from town manager.
Okay. Okay. Next, we're gonna convene an executive session. We will return to open session. So under MGL chapter 38, section 21A3 for the following purpose. To discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation. Now, the meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body. Do I have a motion? Just to say, we usually get asked. I don't expect we'll be there more than 30 minutes. I've been wrong before, but I don't think it's gonna be an hour or more, many times it is.
I move that the board meet in executive session pursuant to MGL chapter 30A, section 21A3 for the following purpose. To discuss strategy with respect to litigation against the town concerning host community agreement for marijuana establishments, Theory Wellness, Community Growth Partners, Rebel, and High Minded LLC, Farnsworth. Middlesex Superior Court Civil Action Number 2481 CV 00693. And D2N2 LLC, doing business as Calix Berkshire Dispensary. Berkshire Superior Court Civil Action Number 476 CV 00041, and then return to open session.
Do I have a second?
Good.
Roll call, Phil.
Aye.
Ben.
Aye.
Garfield. Eric.
Aye.
And I, it's unanimous. So we will return. I'm going to mute the Zoom at this point.
Okay.
Everyone back? Okay. I'm gonna read a statement and then we will take a vote and then we will go into, as Michelle alluded to, citizen speak. This is a statement on the cannabis litigation settlement. In March of 2024, 3 of the marijuana establishments in Great Barrington sued the town, claiming that the community impact fees they had paid under the host community agreements with the town, we refer to as HCA's, host community agreements, were unlawful and demanding a refund of those fees. Those businesses are Theory Wellness, Community Growth Partners, which operates as Rebel, and High Minded LLC, which operates as Farnsworth Fine Cannabis. After a series of discussions, the select board has reached an agreement to settle the litigation. Though the select board has taken the position that the community impact fees were collected and spent in accordance with the HCA's and with applicable regulations, and after an application process and town meeting vote, select board does not want to risk any unfavorable court ruling that could put a significant burden on Great Barrington taxpayers. Therefore, the select board has agreed to return a portion of the community impact fees paid by the establishments and still held by the town. The 3 companies paid the town a combined total of approximately $5.8 million in community impact fees between April of 2019 and September of 2023. The total amount that will be returned is approximately $4.7 million. The general return ratio will be the same for each establishment, but the overall amount will be in proportion to the amount of fees paid, meaning that Theory Wellness, the first establishment in town, and the one that paid the most will receive the largest return. The approximate breakdown is $4.16 million to Theory Wellness, $360,000 to Community Growth Partners, and $189,000 to High Minded. This settlement will also include a new or renewal host community agreement with each of the three companies, using the agreement form the town has recently adopted for new establishments. Under that model, community impact fees may still be assessed to an establishment, but the process for doing so involves an annual computation and accounting of particular town costs that might arise as a result of operation of the individual businesses. I do want to point out that the community impact fees were collected were in addition to the 3% local excise tax levied on cannabis retail sales. The settlement does not affect the collection or receipt of cannabis excise taxes. From FY19 through FY25, the town has received more than $8.3 million from local cannabis excise taxes for all establishments in Great Barrington. Those monies are deposited into the town's general fund each year and are subject to appropriation by town meeting. The select board has authorized the settlement through the negotiation process and discussion in executive session. For the public record, I will ask for a motion to approve the settlement of the Theory Wellness, Community Growth Partners, and High Minded marijuana litigation. Middlesex Superior Court Civil Action number 2481. CV 00693, as I have described it, and to authorize town council to complete and file the necessary documents to end the litigation.
So moved.
Any discussion? We will do a roll call vote. Phil?
Aye.
Ben?
Aye.
Garfield?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
And I, it's unanimous. We will now go into citizen speak time.
Hi, Donna Jacobs, 260 Park Street, and I'm here to follow in Sharon Shalhoub's footsteps in talking about the vision of Great Barrington. She referred to solving the water problem in Housatonic would be a boost or a boon to Housatonic development and the Ramsdale Library. And in order to solve the water problem in the Housatonic Waterworks problem, I have an idea. And I thought I'd bring it to you all and see what you think and hopefully get a blessing. And the idea is to raise funds for whole house filtration units so that they may be installed in the homes of Housatonic Waterworks ratepayers. I've installed my own system. It works pretty good, and I can't describe the relief that I feel in the morning when I'm not met with the disgust of the brown water that I would have to wash my face with and put in my eyes and full of sediment is no longer. My water's clean. And I think everybody should have what I have. Not everybody has the funds to install their own whole house water filtration system, which is why I'm here to advocate that the town consider how funds could be gotten, raised to help a project like this. Our volunteer citizens are exhausted. Nobody really has liked our ideas about acquiring the Housatonic Waterworks. We worked really hard on that and you all voted it down in May. And I'm hoping that those efforts are at least appreciated somewhat, or at least help keep things moving. But because I think we are failing in our efforts to take responsibility as a municipality to provide safe, accessible, and affordable water, since neither acquisition or oversight near the over the upgrades in the PWS system have materialized, we need an outside run. I'll use a sports metaphor, and this is it: private filtration. Private filtration is successful in improving water quality and safety in many homes. Granted, they are systems that need upkeep, filter replacement, servicing, etc. But private filtration can, endorsed by the town as a private nonprofit organization or as a government agency that forms a subcommittee to come up with some kind of budget to put in private filtration, would fulfill the expectations of this municipality under the Safe Water Act. So this is an idea. Install private water filtration wherever needed. And here are some preliminary suggestions for the terms of the project. Need would be based on the results of water testing to be performed on in households where there are complaints. There would be no income restrictions. Filtration systems would be subsidized from $500 to $2,000 depending on need for equipment and licensed plumbing installation. A needs analysis would determine the overall cost of the project. At maximum, 800 households at subsidies of $2,000 each would be $160,000 and could be half of that at $80,000 or a fraction of that depending on need. It's an unknown, so a needs assessment could be done. Should the filtration be handled by a government agency? Should it be handled by a nonprofit that would be supported by the town to the degree that it doesn't conflict with private versus public funds? So I have a few questions to throw out tonight. Can Barrington appoint a body to organize and oversee a project like this? Would this project fall under the purview of the Housatonic Improvement Committee? Can a subcommittee be appointed? Would private donations be accepted? Private citizens have said to me that they would get behind a project like this as benefactors. So some may think the idea of private whole house filtrations is a naive idea. Quite frankly, I think it's ethical, I think it's practical, and I think it's smart. And I think safe water is overdue. Our water system needs a play, someone to call the play, someone to throw the ball and a team that gets to the goal. It's being done with affordable housing where filtration systems come installed during construction. Installation needs to be done with all houses, homes that stabilize our lives and our communities. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Who else would like to speak? Jim?
Sure.
Put my reading glasses. Jim Bailey, Housatonic. I'm gonna start my clock.
I started mine too.
All right. 3 minutes. In mid-June of this year, I observed Reifenberg Construction digging foundations on Prosperity Way, the development in Housatonic. Knowing the foundations were not part of the scope of work covered under the bid in the Mass Works grant, I was curious as to who was paying for its foundations to be dug. During citizen speak time at a select board meeting, a couple weeks later in June, or in late June, I think you all recall, I asked who was paying for the foundations to be dug by Reifenberg Construction. The answer I received from the town at that meeting was that Central Berkshire Habitat for Humanity was funding the foundation work. Last week, 2 months since the first foundations were dug, I learned the town of Great Barrington was actually paying Reifenberg Construction through a grant. Because I understand in a project of this enormous magnitude, things can become extremely confusing. And although a house cannot be built without a foundation, the foundations may be the last things considered in funding. Apparently, that's the case here. So I reviewed the selectmen's meeting from that night. I had asked the question. Just to make sure I asked the right question. And the town actually responded by telling me Habitat was funding the foundations. And it was just as I remembered. I thought there must be a simple explanation as to why the answer went from Habitat was paying for the foundations 2 months ago to last week finding out that Great Barrington has a mysterious funding source through some grant to pay for the foundations. Pay Reifenberg Construction to dig the foundations. Did I say Reifenberg Construction's dug the foundations? Now I know this because I can look out my mom's backyard and witness this whole fiasco. 63 years my mom's house has been there since they built it. So I have a pretty good and pretty vested interest in the community and specific that neighborhood. Anyways. So there had to be some explanation, right? I mean, why I was told one thing and it turns out to be another. So I thought, well, it could be my fault, right? My question might not have been clear and concise. So tonight I'm gonna try to make my questions clear and concise. First, what is the name of the grant used by the town of Great Barrington to pay Reifenberg Construction for the excavation of the foundations at Prosperity Way site? I would also like to have the contact information for the grant administrator. I would like to know what the balance of that grant was prior to Reifenberg Construction being paid for the work. I would like to know what the balance of the grant is after paying Reifenberg Construction for the foundation work. In addition, I'd like to know how Reifenberg Construction is being paid for the installation of the sewer to the buildings beyond the sewer stub, which are shown to end for the bid purposes. I'd like to know the water services, or who paid for the water services, and how Reifenberg Construction is being paid for the water services to the buildings beyond the stub shown in the bid documents, The electrical conduits, I'd like to know how they're being paid for, the wiring to the buildings, all beyond the transformer pad shown in the bid documents. I asked about all of those because everything I read and I can dig up the scope of work associated with the Mass Works grant and the bid did not cover any of that. So I have these questions written down. I'll hand them each to each of you. So each of you can find out for yourself and maybe get back to me. My email address is on there. My number's on there. You're more than welcome to contact me. But I think important, this is very, very important in any project, whether it be this project or any project going forward, transparency. There needs to be outright transparency in all projects. We don't just pick and choose what we're gonna let the public know, how we're gonna disseminate the information, and say, oops, when we tell somebody we made a mistake. We're all human, we make mistakes, I get it. There needs to be oversight on these projects. Where is the oversight? I don't know. I haven't researched the chain of command. I understand that town planner, town manager, DPW director all have parts in this.
Jim, just try and put up.
The library director, when she spoke, she said something very important. She recognized the importance of disinformation and misinformation being out there in the public. Thanks.
Thanks, Jim. Michelle, go ahead. Oh, Bobby, I've been through it.
7 Acre Mount Plain Road. So, in May and June, I believe it was, the planning board with Mr. Remble and the Berkshire Regional Planning Commission discussed safe streets for all. They had a meeting over at the Great Barrington Fire Station. So I was a little concerned as to why the Gilmore Avenue, East Street, entire neighborhood don't seem to have any information or knowledge that safe streets for all even existed. And I'm also asking the board, please post the August 11th board meeting. And I believe the July 21st board meeting on your website. Thanks.
July 21st and August 11th? Bobby?
Yeah,
Correct.
that's what he
Okay.
said.
Michelle?
Thank you, Michelle Revere, 72 Vision Street. First of all, it came up openness and transparency, which happened to be the title of my master's thesis, openness and transparency in local government. And you could see how well it works. An example of that is tonight with the Gilmore Avenue, Cottage Street neighborhood. And okay, you listen to them, everything, you made statements, what you can do, you're working with the chief of police. That's when the process is run well. When the process isn't run well, you have a problem. That being said, I want to thank you for appointing to the finance committee again. You know, it's going to be, I don't go gently into that good night. I'll be asking a lot of questions. And some people will like it and some people won't. And you've seen me work on the finance committee before.
So if I did a good job
Regarding
before.
thank you. Regarding speed bumps, I just want to point out, if you travel Lenox, on the main strip of Lenox, they do have speed. They're not the type of bumps that'll break your back. There's one on Holmes Road, and you leave your kidneys back there, you know, and no matter how but it's a soft bumps thing and that actually is working up in Lenox. Lenox is as crazy as Great Barrington. And particularly when Tablewood's in and whatever. So you may want to just take a look. That's just, you know, the DPW, one DPW to another DPW. Hey, how did you do this? That may be an answer there. I want to circle around to Division Street again. Thank you again, Chair Bannon, for reaching out to me and working with Chief Doherty. Yes, there is the speed sign there, but unfortunately, and I've tested it, it's in a location where cars are already slowing to either go up Van Dusenville Road or the railroad tracks. I've tested it myself and I'm watching the cars. It's not in a good location. I actually was very excited to see you could buy a radar gun. I went on to Amazon when I was sitting there, $149.99, and that will be on my Christmas wish list. But I do take days off from work to monitor what's going on the street. This is not a criticism of our police department. I've always been treated well by the Great Barrington Police Department. That's not it, but there clearly is an enforcement issue. There appears to be maybe a manpower issue or woman power issue, wherever you want to go. I don't know whether it is feasible to ask assistance from our state police. I know years ago, we had a state police officer who lived in our community and would patrol our community. I work in Lenox. I see state police in Lenox. I see state police in Lee. They have the barracks in Lee. So maybe we need to reach out to them because it's not getting better on Division Street. Just tonight, I went to my mailbox and an SUV was flying up. I live on a curb and fortunately I move fast. It's a serious problem. Don't underestimate blue lights flashing in your rear view mirror. If the parking ticket isn't going to stick, do a written warning. I myself have been pulled over for a taillight being out, and I go, oh my God, everybody in town of Great Barrington is gonna see me pulled over and everything. Public shaming works, and this may be a case where it has to do it. There are cruisers pulled over on 183 when I go to work at Morris Elementary, right near Tanglewood. There are cruisers pulled over on Glendale Middle Road when my husband is going through Stockbridge to get to Westfield. There are cruisers all over the place. We need them pulled over on Division Street. There's going to be a fatality. A lot of, now with electric bicycles, it is crazy on Division Street. So again, I appreciate what has been done, but it has to be tweaked. And I'm going to come right out, more has to be done. And I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing no one else. Selectboard time, Phil.
Lovely.
Ben.
Thank you to everybody who came out tonight, and we covered a lot of ground and a lot of different topics, so thank you.
Barker.
I have nothing, thank you.
Nothing, thank you.
What are we doing? Media time. Unanimous consent, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for a good meeting.